All right, welcome back to the Bird Rights Podcast, everybody. I'm here, Jack Wilhelm, today with our other hosts, Brendan Shelley, Nick Stansberry, and Jack Ove, here to talk some baseball. Finally, once again,
Woo!
after a long-awaited time, here to talk some ball. Got some good ball knowers, and I'm Brendan can kind of give us a layout of what we're going to be talking about because he knows better than I do.
Yeah, so we got a pretty simple episode on the for the pod today. I think we're just going to run through a couple more free agents that we didn't finish discussing at the end of last podcast. Then I think we're going to get into Scott Rowland, talking about his Hall of Fame case, and then after that, we're just going to talk a little bit about the World Baseball Classic because I know we're all very excited about that coming up. Um,
Show the tea bottle. Show the fucking bottle. Show it. I saw it.
I had to pour it out. I had to
Is
pour
that
some-
bigger than last time?
But at least he's using the cup this time. He's
Yeah,
using the
I mean,
cup
I didn't want to just
so we
go
can let
straight
him off.
bottle it.
I saw it.
Um,
You like
That thing is huge.
I've already gone through two of these this week, so this is the third one on the
Damn.
agenda. Over the past week and so
I was
it's
gonna say this
Tuesday.
week it's Tuesday.
No, that would be a bit aggressive even for me.
You've already
Maybe
gone through
one in a day.
three.
But
because you would have diabetes in about a half a second.
sir, what does that say?
That's
Yeah,
why I
I
said at
can't
least it's
read.
unsweet.
My apologies. I thought you were saying I do currently have diabetes.
I mean, it's a crime for you to drink unsweet tea, but it's
That's fair.
definitely better for your body.
Well, that's
All right,
why I have
we're
the
getting off
Andes
track.
mints.
All right, we're getting off track.
All right. But yeah, so we're gonna wrap up with World Baseball Classic, and talk a little bit about the top teams and who we think are going to be the top performers. But Kobe, I'll pass it off to you if you want to start talking about a little bit of Dansby Swanson.
Dansby Swanson. Is it because he signed since we well he signed before that.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to cover him
okay,
on the last
okay,
episode.
okay. I see. Well, Dansby had a breakout year last year, honestly. Like I didn't really see him playing as well as he did. Maybe it was a kind of a career contract year type thing. Like, this wouldn't be unprecedented. But he got the payday that he wanted, $177 million. He is going to look to be the new Cubs shortstop for the next 7 years or so, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. He's always been great on defense. We know that, although he had maybe his best defensive year last year as well. But his offense was much better than normal last season, and that was really what got him to the All-Star game. He also stays really healthy. He played the most games in each of the last two seasons in the league, so he definitely has a track record of staying out there. And I'm not sure I would have given him as much money maybe as they did for just a one-time all-star player, but it's at a very high value position, so I don't really blame them.
Yeah,
At least they're spending money.
62 last year. Sorry, I cut you off a little bit. He played every game last year.
And the year
And
before.
he's a guy who's had a great glove his entire career when his bat still hasn't been great until recent. I mean, he's been okay, but like his glove has always been great, and they'll love to have a consistent shortstop again. And
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
if he can just stay on the field as much as he has been over like the last 2 years, like not missing a game, yeah, I think it's gonna be a great signing. Like Jack said, or like Jack Covey said, I don't think I would have maybe given him as much money, but Gold Glove defense there, like last season at short. He's hit 25 home runs in like each of the last 2 years. So like I don't know, he can't hit the ball. He's been hitting the ball better than he has been. Like I get it. Like that's good for a shortstop. I'm not sure I would have given him that much money, but I still think it's like solid.
Yeah, coming in with a little Phillies perspective, I think I'm happy that he got that deal. He he is a very solid player. I don't know if he's as good as this last year will be in the long term. Having your best year, like being that good of a defender in your WAR. Don't get me wrong, 5.7 is a great WAR, but I'm thinking that's on the higher end of his career. I can kind of see him more of a 3.5, 4 kind of WAR. I don't know if that's kind of worth that value. But I think it'll be really exciting because I'm almost as excited about Nico Horner as a player as I am about Dansby Swanson. I think he's another excellent defender who has a similar bat. So to see them slot in next to each other up the middle, I think that's going to be one of the best defensive middle infields we've seen in a long time.
For sure.
Yeah, like if he just plays like 150 games and gets like 20 something home runs, I think you're gonna be happy with it. Because the past like 3 years, his bat's been pretty good. Like it hasn't been that like for his whole career, but I don't know. I feel like the Cubs to have like a decent player at worst. Like yeah, 3 to 4 WAR about or more maybe.
Yeah, but he's always safe with that defense. And honestly, his advanced metrics look pretty solid across the board. Like, I mean, in defense is as consistent as it gets, and I think for a team that's trying to build around with young players, I think that he's a great ad for the Cubs. So I guess after that we can move into Wilhelm. I know you had some stuff written up about him possibly. Did you have anything on Justin Verlander?
Not really anything written up, but I can talk about Justin Verlander for a while. Verlander is a guy. I mean, obviously everybody knows Verlander. Verlander's been a stud for years, and he's obviously been pretty healthy throughout his career. But shit, I mean, he's 39 now. He's got what 2-year deal, right? With
Yep.
Mets. So, I mean, his velo is still there, like enough. Like he's still hitting 96s, 97s when he's good. Like he's got his pitch mix is. I want to look up. I don't really know how much he relies on his pitches, but let me go to whatchamacallit real quick.
Well, while you're searching that up, I'll just interject here. As tough as it is to see me or to see the Mets sign another really good pitcher, we do have recent experience absolutely plastering him in the playoffs. He is not a good playoff pitcher, especially when you start getting later in the playoffs. I just don't know if his old bones can hold up towards the if the Mets go deep. But so I mean, I think that's one plus for it in my perspective because I've seen it firsthand. But I mean, he's going to be a scary pitcher throughout the season. I have nothing but respect for his stuff. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can go, Spence.
Coco, do you want to go?
Okay, sure. I mean, not much has to be said about Verlander. Like he's gonna go in the Hall of Fame pretty shortly after he retires, most likely. He's been around for so long. It seems like he's getting better with age almost. Like he had his best season of his career ERA wise last year, by a pretty decent amount actually, by like almost a whole point. But anyway, I mean, he's still so effective. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's grinding along. He's going to be 40 by the end of this deal, which it seems like the Mets don't really care about age with some of these pitchers as long as they're still getting the job done. But it definitely brings a heightened injury risk that the Mets could sustain having such like a a retirement home level team with with the veterans that they got. But I would have done it in their shoes as well if I was as rich as Steve Cohen.
Yeah, like for 2 years for Justin Verlander, like for a guy who turns like 40 later this month, I don't know, like he's still at the top of his game. He still pitched 175 innings last year. Like if there's a guy who's like 30 instead of 40, like no one would really say anything if they pitched that much in a season. Like, yeah, sure, before that he didn't really pitch that much. But besides that, he's been relatively clean. I don't know. I think it's a really good deal for the Mets. They clearly are spending so much money, so to try and win now, and Justin Verlander is like the definition of a really good win now player.
His last two healthy seasons, he's won the Cy Young award, and then the year before that, he was the runner up. So
yeah, and I'm just looking at his run value right now and just kind of, I mean, it's insane to me that he had that gap from baseball with the injuries, and he still comes back and has values on his pitches that were as good as before he got hurt. Especially at that age, it just is mind blowing. Like this past year, he had a 24 run value on his fastball. Like it's one of the best pitches in baseball. Like what is he, 39, 38?
He turns 40 later this month.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
in like a couple weeks.
Crazy.
What's crazy to me
Um,
about him is, sorry, he had Tommy John in 2021 that knocked out his pretty much his whole year there. In 2020, his average fastball, that's great. Granted, it's a shortened year, but his arm's still fresh then. His average fastball was slower than his average fastball last year in 2020 than it was in 2022.
You got some of that Captain America secret serum kind of stuff
Well,
going on.
it's the same guy. It's the same thing as like Randy Johnson, dude. Some guys just have it. Some dudes just have it and they don't have problems. It's just God given. Like it's just like they don't have the issues that people like me and Brendan have had to deal with all our baseball careers.
Yeah.
I think my arm's been struggling since I hit like 13 years old. Like it's I wish I had those genetics.
What
But
what I think that's what's crazy about Verlander is that his whip since like moving to Houston has been .833. Like that, dude, that's insane. Like to do that since for like a 5-year stretch as a pitcher, like especially like at his age, mid to late 30s, is like pretty incredible.
and he's bagging Kate Upton.
Yeah, what
We
can he
don't
do?
need to go there. I'll be ranting for 2 hours. All right. That's no Kate Upton on this show. That's dangerous territory.
Oh boy. Okay. Oh god.
Okay,
No one ever mentioned that again.
let's
Not
just
at this
move
point.
on.
I don't want to know, so I don't worry. You won't have to worry about it. I will not speak.
Who's next?
uh, we can
Player wise, I mean,
we can dive into Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, I was about to say we should talk about Wilson Contreras. And we could talk about both the Contrerases if we wanted to.
Well, we can.
Could.
I think that let's double down on the Contrerases.
They both changed teams. Well, to start with Wilson, I guess that was a decent deal for St. Louis. He got, what was it, like a 5-year, 6-year contract. He's gonna be, I mean, it doesn't seem like teams care about guys getting to their upper 30s by the end of deals anymore in baseball, but he will be there when the time comes. And he's a big upgrade for the Cardinals. As much as everyone loves Yachty and stuff, these last couple of years he really has had like no offense whatsoever. Especially last year, he just straight up couldn't hit the ball. So it was getting to be that time, unfortunately for him. So and then moving on to William, I mean, what was it? It was part of the Sean Murphy trade. He got sent to Milwaukee. That'll be a good piece for them as well. He's only 25 and he just made the All-Star game. So it's kind of surprising to see them part ways with him so fast because they still have years of control. But I'm not the one making the trade. I think Milwaukee got pretty good value here for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel a little bit bad for the Milwaukee fans. They really haven't had too many signings to go off of this season with such like a loaded like starting pitching staff. I feel like they just needed to get some decent role players, which shouldn't be like too expensive or anything. But I still think it's a nice pickup for them at the catcher spot.
Yeah, the Brewers really confused me. Like I didn't feel like they were too far off. I mean, I know they're a little hesitant with some of their pieces. I mean, Yelich has been, questionable. But their pitching's there, and I'm like, they just the fact that all offseason they kind of seemed like they wanted to sell the whole time when they weren't far off really confused me. But I mean, I also agree that Williams a great pickup. I mean, to get a player in a deal like that absolutely like ranks leading some of the league in like max exit velo and barrel rate and expected slugging. I mean, that's a great scoop up for them. I would say I'm a little hesitant about Wilson Contreras. I mean, I know he's an excellent player, very, very solid with the bat. But I mean, I don't think he's that good defensively. And then, I mean, the pitching staff for the Cardinals is already atrocious. Like it's like they're not even trying. And I mean, that's with Yadier's incredible defense backing them up. Now that they have like a mediocre defending catcher at best, like I don't know if that. I mean, that just might lead to an absolute collapse.
Yeah, I saw I got here that last year he had -1 defensive run save, but he was +8 in 2021. So I mean, I think it can be decent. He's not like a great defensive catcher, but he's had like 4 seasons with at least like 20 homers, like at the catcher spot. Like it's still gonna help out a lot, but yeah, their pitching's definitely needs some serious work. But the NL Central, like overall, is very weak. Like they can still maybe get by making it with that weak division.
Yeah, I like the Williams signing personally a good bit. I think I could see him. I mean, he had he had a good year last year, obviously all-star, but like I mean, he had a down year in terms of WAR for his career, but I could really see him being like a 3.5, 4 WAR guy next season if he. I don't know. I mean, I think he's just
That's
got to
what he
lift
had
a few
last
more.
year.
I think what?
That's what he had last year. He had like 3.9 on Baseball Reference, maybe not.
This reference is lying to me. It says 2022 he had a 2.7 WAR.
Is,
So
is that
3.9 for
Fangraphs?
me.
It also says 39 for me. So
Why is it lying to me about William Contreras?
are you looking at
Wait, no,
Wilson?
I think you're confusing the brothers. Well, William has only played 3 years in the league, and he didn't get signed. He got traded. We're, are you talking? Are you talking about the Brewers or are you talking about the Cardinals? Because Wilson's the guy from the Cubs
He was signed with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I
who
know. I'm
signed with
talking
the
about
Cardinals.
William Contreras on the Brewers.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
no, Wilson.
But you were talking about how it's a down year for him, but it was like his best year, like by far.
I'm talking about William Contreras. He had a 2.7 WAR, and his career WAR is a 2.8. WAR wise, it was a down year for him. But I'm saying
No, that's his total career WAR. His entire career WAR was made up by this year. That's not his average WAR per year.
then why is it differentiated? Then why is it differentiated? I'm so confused.
Well, okay, his career WAR is 2.8.
I mean
That is the
that's what
total he's accumulated throughout his career in the 3 seasons he's played.
It's saying his WAR this season was 2.7.
Yes, which makes up for 99.8% of his career WAR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you look at his other 2 years, he had four games he played in 2020 and only had 185 plate appearances in 2021.
he's still
Yeah.
solid.
So
Then, but
he had a breakout year, which is why I'm surprised that
Yeah.
the Braves
he
traded him
still
so
he
fast.
still had 8 home runs in 52 games in 2021. Like that wasn't that bad.
No, I mean, his OPS was a little on the downside, but I mean, that was in a smaller sample size. I mean, in a big year like this year, and over 97 games and almost 400 plate appearances, he was balling. So
Yeah.
it's a good ad.
I mean,
His defensive WAR was exactly 0.
yeah, but
Didn't he like DH just as much as he caught?
I mean,
I mean,
I
he,
mean,
500 slugging at the catcher position. Like I'm fine if his defensive WAR is 0 and he's doing that. Like
Mm-hmm.
Sean Murphy only had 0.2 last year, so it's not like he's like running him out of the building on that side of the ball, at least according to Baseball Reference.
he had 20 home runs too. So
Yeah, I mean, he was an all-star for a reason.
all right, who else do we got here, boys?
We got I think Edwin Diaz is the last one we wanted to talk about. Don't I don't want to hear any more trumpets for the rest of my life. But who wants to start us off with that one?
I mean, he's like arguably probably most people would say he's the best reliever in baseball. He's definitely in the short list, no matter like how you cut it. I don't know. I think it's a pretty good signing, like to get him back. It's kind of crazy how like the opinion on him changed from like a couple seasons ago. Like everyone was saying like he's been awful compared to like what he was at the Mariners. And then he's been pitched like really well the last couple of years, and now everyone like loves him again.
Yeah, he had some insane bad luck with the home run ball when he first got to the Mets. Like he still had an insane like strikeout to walk ratio even back then. but he averaged like 2.3 home runs per nine, which is just like pretty
Oof.
shitty luck.
Yeah, he had a 5.56 ERA that first season.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty fraudulent. Like his expected stats were way better than that. But now he's getting to the point where I got that problem sorted out, I guess.
Yeah,
If it
but
even was a
they're
huge problem.
I'm just saying it was like funny how they're like booing him.
Yeah,
when
oh
he-
yeah, no, I'm
ERA
agreeing.
is
I'm just
that
saying
high.
it's crazy how he has
Classic
turned
Mets
it around
fans.
so much. I would have been booing him too, like just in the sense that he was choking games left and right when they acquired him to be a big ticket
Plus his ERA is just like a lot higher than his FIP. Like for the Mets, yeah, it says 3.2 ERA but 2.54 FIP. So that's
Yeah.
like a pretty big difference. Like that the Mets are just causing him.
It
Yep.
angers me that he throws two pitches. It hurts my soul that he can do that.
I mean, Craig Kimbrell's been doing that for years. He was a fastball curveball, and guys didn't touch him for about like 10 seasons.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like he throws his slider more than his fastball.
Oh yeah,
Slider 60% of he throws 60-40. There's 60 slider, 40 fastball. That's ridiculous. My elbow would be in the dirt. It'd be
I mean,
hanging.
that's why he's
Ash.
only pitching like 15, 20 pitches a night, though.
Yeah, that's what happens when you throw that hard. It's
yeah.
really
But if I
hard.
threw a 91-mile-an-hour slider, I don't think I would pitch anything else either.
No, yeah, I would.
His FIP was 0.9 this year, which is pretty absurd.
Yeah, that's
That's
incredible.
That's really good.
It's also hilarious that he literally is the 100th percentile in 4 categories in pitching. I mean, I think he's above 95th percentile in maybe everyone but hard hit and walk, and that's just because he's throwing a million miles an hour.
He literally struck out 17 batters per nine last season.
Being 100th percentile in K percentage and whiff percentage has got to be the biggest dick thing I've ever heard in the sport.
Don't forget about expected batting average against. I mean, that's a pretty big one.
No one can hit the ball off him for average.
No,
No, but
No.
his
because he strikes
baseball
everyone out.
spot chart is it's like hilarious to look at.
though he's not the best reliever in the division, but
Oh, let's hear it.
I mean, if you really want me to break it out, we all know Sir Anthony is better long
Oh
term.
my god.
I can't even say that with a straight face as much
That's
as
why
I
Edwin
love him.
Diaz got
I'm so
$64
glad you
million
couldn't.
dollars.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but
disrespect.
getting old. I mean, we've seen he's on the decline. His numbers are going down, so the only number that's going down is his ERA.
So he had 62 innings and he struck out 118 batters. So that means he was basically striking out like
Too
2/3
bad.
of the guys that he faced, about approximately.
Which is crazy. Only gave it 3 home runs too in like 62 innings.
Yeah. That problem resolved itself, it seems like.
Yeah. So should we move it along to Scott Rowland? I mean, this happened a little bit ago, but I think it's still a big topic to discuss. I've heard some interesting opinions on both sides of wanting to, like, thinking he's well deserving of it, and other sides saying that he should not have been inducted. So I'm curious to see what y'all think.
I mean, do you want to lead on him as a Phillies fan?
Sure, I can get started. I mean, a little bit before my time, at least when he was on the Phillies. Rookie of the year as a Philly, pretty cool stuff. But after that, he was pretty quiet for us. But I think there's always going to be a little bit of tension with him and the Phillies, because I think we could have had like Utley, Rollins, Roland, and Ryan Howard, and maybe had the best infield of all time. But I think he was pretty adamant about leaving the organization from everything I've heard, which is a little iffy. But I was there, not exactly sure how it went down. But
I mean, it still kind of worked out for him though, because he did get like a ring in St. Louis.
yeah, I'm not saying it didn't work out. I think just as a Phillies fan, like, knowing what you could have had, a little salty that they didn't have that elite. I mean, it was already elite, but that what could have been. But I was talking to my dad the other day when he first got inducted. He called me, and he's like, I don't think he should have gotten it. He's like, when I think of a Hall of Famer, they need to be the best at their position for a good stretch of time. And he's like, he was never the best, nor like even that good to be like that close to being the best player in the league. I mean, he had 1 year where he was the MVP for, and then he only had he was never top 12 MVP voting again. He was MVP 14 1 year, MVP 24, and MVP 20. I mean, I'm pretty sure Lamont Wade Jr. was MVP 20 this year. Like
last season.
yeah, well, not this season, but the year before. But I mean,
Don't disrespect him. All right, that's my boy.
no,
You ever
I'm
want
not
to come on the
disrespecting.
Birds Rights podcast? Guess who's your guy? Me, right here.
Whoa, this is not disrespect. I am proud of Lamont for getting those votes. He earned them or vote. But I'm just but I'm just saying, Scott Rowland. Like, if you're sitting at that point, I mean, like, you're not one of the best players in baseball. I mean, if I get 855 solid for a career, and but I mean,
at third, that's really good.
yeah, at third is very good, and he was one of the better defensive players, which is why there's a strong case and why he has the WAR. But I mean, you have one Silver Slugger, and nothing much else for personal achievement past that rookie year bat wise.
Eight Gold Gloves.
Roland's
That's at bat wise.
Roland's
Bat-wise.
top 10 in WAR among all third basemen all time.
Yeah,
Which is, all the guys above him are in, besides Beltre, who will be, and then a few guys below him as well.
Beltre should honestly be first ballot. I mean, I think it's probably gonna happen.
Yeah.
Beltre will be absolutely 3,000 hits, however many home runs. Absolutely.
I think he has 500. Does he have 500?
No.
477. He also has 94 WAR, which is very high.
I mean, like,
he was never. I wouldn't say he was underrated, but like he kind of sneaky flew under the radar for a lot of years. I feel
he only made the All-Star team 4 times. I would say he was underrated.
What?
Yeah, which is pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
I take it back. He's underrated. It's criminally.
Yeah.
I think the fans know, like, watching him. Yeah.
100%.
But I feel like some people might kind of take the same way with like Beltre and Roland, except I feel like most people know that Beltre is probably a little bit better. But for Scott Rowland, I mean, when you look at it though, like 17-year career third, 122 career OPS plus, like that's really high. 8 Gold Gloves there at third. Like when you combine those two stats, it's definitely worth it. Like 7-time All-Star too. Like for him, he did like a little bit of everything. Like he had the World Series, Silver Slugger, Rookie of the Year. Like I think when you combine all of that together, I think it's probably enough to like get him in for like the longevity that he had at third.
Well, yeah.
I respect the longevity and I get that, but I'm like,
8 Gold Gloves is a lot.
Well, there's longevity, but there's also not. That's also something I want to say. There's longevity, but it's very inconsistent with him. He played. I mean, his rookie year, he didn't play a ton of games, or his first rookie year, he didn't play a ton of games. But he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons of those that were spent under 100 games played. And there were a lot in like 112, there's like one at exactly 100, 2 112s, a 115. Like he did struggle a little bit to see the field, but in the years that he was playing very consistently, he was playing really well. And 115 for a matter of games is not a terrible sample size in terms of games played. And you'd like to see a guy obviously be able to play in 160 games, give him a few rest days a year. But I can see the argument for why he wouldn't get in, but I just think his numbers overall argue, and defensively, I think defensively that helps him more than anything. Offensively, I would be take it or leave it, but I think his defensive prowess puts him over the edge for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, 70 WAR puts him over, like gives him more WAR, at least on Baseball Reference, than pretty much like any of the other guys. There's like a few guys between like 50 and 75% who haven't quite like made it yet. but like he has more WAR than like all of those guys, pretty much that are close, like Todd Helton, like Billy Wagner, like all of these guys. Like Scott Rowland, in that regard, should get in over any of them first.
Yeah, and I get that. I'm just, as much of a big WAR guy that I am, I love me some good WAR. But like I think if I'm looking at it right now,
Hitler.
like I
Oh my god.
I I think like if Nolan Arenado stopped playing with his 52.2 WAR, I would rather have him in the Hall of Fame than Scott
Yeah.
Rowland. Like, and he like he's the best at his position
I mean,
like every year. And he does have as many all-stars and more gold gloves at this point, but and more silver sluggers. But like
he's
he
just a
doesn't
better
have
catcher.
the longevity, but he was the best. And I think to me that matters more than that longevity side of things for how inconsistent Roland was. But I mean, and yes, I said the best. He is much better than Manny Machado.
Well, I also, to add on to that real quick, I think you make a good point there because I know a lot of people make the argument of like, how are you going to let a guy like Roland in who's like maybe on the fence? I mean, I mean, how long has he been eligible for now? What?
I think it was like, wasn't it like 7 or 8 years, something
Yeah.
like that?
So, I mean, he's
He
a guy.
retired in 2012.
Yeah. So 2017, he was eligible, or 2018.
Okay, so it's probably like
So
5, 6.
whatever, 5, 6 years ish. And I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought. But
I mean, I don't know. Like
oh, I know what I was gonna say. Like, how does a guy like Barry Bonds not in when a guy like he is in?
yeah.
Like
I
I
mean,
get that, but like that's just an argument that people have. I'm not
Yeah.
really gonna hop on a train of either side because I don't really even know where I think about it. Because I think Barry Bonds still hits 700 home runs. I just don't think he hits them as far as he did.
Yeah. That's just an entirely different
Honestly, fuck it, dude.
conversation.
Let
to
them
me.
all take steroids, dude. I want to see balls launched.
I mean, that's why we have Kyle Schwarber, the natural steroid.
Let the pit. That's his nickname.
I mean,
Natural steroid.
I just coined that, the natural steroid. If ESPN starts using that on their media, I want credit.
To go back to the WAR for like the 100th time for Roland, on Baseball Reference they show like the average for third baseman and stuff, and then the Hall of Fame. His WAR is a little less than 2 above the average for third baseman in the Hall of Fame, so pretty
yeah,
much
like
lines
the
up
average
exactly.
to make it.
And his 7-year peak, which they kind of show here too, is 0.6 above the average. So basically, he kind of falls right down in the middle of that. So I think he deserved to make it. But there's some other guys that have got snubbed over the years that you can't really get mad at Roland exactly. You got to get mad at the process of how they're letting
Yeah.
these guys in.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're letting Brooks Robinson in, I think we got to let Scott Rowland in.
All right.
I'm just playing. I'm just messing.
I'm not telling you.
The 18-time All-Star Brooks Robinson and the 16-time Gold Glove should just sneak in.
I should have told you that he told me that he thought Schmidt was better. Because
I tell that story every week. Every week of my life, I tell someone new about that. I've never had a greater story shared with me
I
than that.
started because I felt so odd in the moment because I just started dying laughing. He's like, "Why are you laughing?" I go, "One of my friends is a huge Phillies fan. He's a real asshole." No, I'm just kidding.
I want to blame you, but do you want to tell the story to the podcast viewers? I mean, I feel like this is some great firsthand knowledge.
This is a good story. So I worked a busing job over the summer, and at the place I worked, Brooks Robinson is a regular. Like comes in. When I worked there over the summer, I probably saw him a good 5 times at least. So, he comes in and he's just kind of sitting down, and we have a new waiter in, and our new waiter sees that it's Brooks Robinson and loses his mind. And he's like starts going over, and like we're not supposed to take pictures or anything, but he's like taking pictures with him, and he's talking, and like our waiter is like chatting his ear off about how he's like the best ever, the best of all time, like the greatest third baseman ever. And I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at him, and he goes, "You know what? People always tell me that, but I always thought there was one guy that was better than me, Mike Schmidt." And I lose it because literally not how maybe that day we were talking.
I think it was the night before. The
night
night before we were talking
we
about.
were literally
Yeah.
talking. We were having the argument in our chat about whether Brooks or Mike were better. Like literally, and the next day he said it. Like it couldn't have been better. It was the craziest thing I ever. Like I was just like shocked. I was like, I'm not even mad. Like that's just incredible.
Mike probably was better objectively.
Yeah.
When you
I
start
don't
looking at it,
think
the
Mike had a-
defense definitely goes to Brooks, but the offense wasn't really close
I
at
would,
all.
yeah. Mike Schmidt far and away had a better bat.
And I'm completely, mess. I have nothing but respect for Brooks, and he was so good for so long, and you can't diss any of his credentials. But when you look at the more complete player who did it with both the bat and defensively, I mean, I think it's Schmidt all the way.
I don't think any of us disagree with you. We just
No, I just think that story is just too funny. So should we get moving into World Baseball Classic? Some fun upcoming territory for things to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm excited.
All right. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be sweet. So my first question to y'all is, who do you think I don't know if it's who has the better roster, or who do you think is going to win it all? Like, I guess I'll leave it up to the interpretation, but like, who do you think the better team is in the World Baseball Classic, the U.S. or the Dominican Republic? And if you're, want to get risky, you could give me reasons why Japan's winning it all.
Curveball, Chinese Taipei. Thoughts?
I'm going with Garrett Stubbs and the Israeli national team.
Hey, you're not
Dean
gonna root
Kramer.
for Alex. You're not gonna root for Alex Khan and the
I'm actually gonna
in the Pakistani team.
I'm actually gonna root for Nick Vespi in the Italian team.
Well, yeah, Stans, you know a kid that went to Calvert Hall when we were in high school is playing on. Well, actually, two kids that went to Calvert Hall when we were in high school are playing in the World Baseball Classic.
For who?
In Pakistan.
Wait, what were their names again?
They're brothers. One of them I played with summer ball for a while. Alex and Sammy Khan. They're
Oh yeah, no, I definitely like remember their names like on like the team sheet, like on the roster.
Alex
They were good.
Alex was like their third baseman. He's at West Virginia. He's really solid.
Yeah.
He's good.
Dude, they're shortstop though. We don't gotta get into it.
I pull up the odds for the World Baseball Classic. The DR is plus 200, the US is plus 250, and Japan's plus 330.
That makes sense.
Wow.
That's a tight race.
And then
They're-
Puerto
they're-
Rico is
That's about
Puerto Rico is 1400. So it basically is a
They're giving
three-horse
Japan
race.
a lot of respect.
1400. I'm taking Puerto Rico for 1400. You kidding?
Yeah, they're definitely they're saying it's a
That's the
three-horse
big
race.
that's a pretty big jump from. I mean, who does Puerto Rico? I mean, Puerto Rico had a lot of older guys. I remember in the last.
It's been a long time since the World
Last
Baseball
baseball
Classic.
classic.
I gotta hear they still have like a really like solid lineup, like Francisco Lindor, like Eddie, Carlos Correa, Javier Baez is he's like all right. Christian Vasquez is solid. Eddie Rosario is solid. Like
That has like a good infield.
they've got a solid squad. Like they've got good pitching, like Barrios, Stroman, Edwin Diaz, like Jorge Lopez.
Did you say Barrios for good pitching?
I mean, like Marcus Stroman's leading it. All right.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know if he's who I want my ace to be, but that's solid.
Wait,
I mean,
who's Stroman- wait,
but
who's
they've
Stroman
Edwin
playing
Diaz
for?
and Jorge Lopez
Cubs?
in the pen.
Sherman plays for the Cubs, I'm pretty sure.
He had
No,
free agency. Did
no.
they re-sign him? I guess they must have.
No, World Baseball Classic. Who's he playing for?
Oh, Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay. Well, he played for the U.S. last time, so I don't know. He's just switching.
Oh,
up.
then that's what Stan said. I don't know.
Well, he's eligible for both. I think if you, I think you have the ability to choose. And he
Wait,
chose
who
US
are we
last time.
talking about? Who are we talking about?
Stroman apparently played for the U.S. last
Stroman
time,
played-
but
Hey, I have Stroman on here on this website.
no, you might be right. He might have just changed to play for that squad
No,
he
yeah,
said he would never play for the US again.
because he's not good enough.
yeah. He
I
definitely
mean,
does.
still though, like the 1-2 from Edwin Diaz and Jorge Lopez is pretty nasty.
Yeah.
I think Tim Anderson's gonna have a really good tourney. I hope he does. I love TA.
Really, big TA guy.
Yeah.
But before we jump into that, I just want to say one thing about that Puerto Rico squad. The only time Lindor and Cray will be playing together is on Team Puerto Rico.
Got him.
Freak the Mets.
Dean Kramer's gonna be playing for Israel. I think he's their ace. On the team.
Elite.
I don't know who else is on some of the rosters. I'm sure there's a bunch of guys.
Who's on the Mexico? Like who? Urias is on the Mexico. I didn't know he was Mexican.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, Tejan. Okay. Sandoval. Okay.
Did you say who was the
Mullins and Dylan Tate are playing for USA. And
Luis and Ramon Urias. I didn't even know they were Mexican. I'm an idiot for some reason, apparently.
Santander for Venezuela.
I mean, there's fun players on every squad, no doubt about it.
Yep.
But that follows me up to the next question. Who do you think the best who do you think will have the best tournament for both the Dominican Republic and American team?
Adam Jones.
Dude,
Wouldn't be the first time.
Stan's screen is bugging like it was.
Yeah,
not
I'm getting that
again.
too. Yeah,
he went on a baseball or it was basketball reference yesterday, and it just started.
Dude, I was just
totally
opening up like
breaking.
too many tabs.
this is like a horror movie.
I know.
It's like that
It's
horror
terrible.
movie that released where they're all like trapped on Zoom, and like someone like they couldn't leave or something.
All right, I closed enough stuff apparently that it stopped.
David Fletcher playing for Italy. Brandon Nimmo.
Prop Italian.
All right, what was you were talking about something, Brad?
I want you to pick a player from both the United States and from the Dominican Republic team that you think is going to have the best tournament overall.
That's right. I pulled up the roster. All right, for the US, I'm gonna pick Dylan Tate.
Yes, sir.
Actually, my real pick will be shit, I don't even know, like Goldschmidt. And then for the DR, I'll pick Manny Machado.
Who?
Manny Machado.
The dude who like when we do award predictions on another pod might end up being my MVP choice. We'll see.
I think Jeremy Pena might go off.
That'd be cool. I would like to see Jeremy Pena
I
pop
would
off.
like to see him do really well. I think that'd be cool as him being that young. I think
it's gonna be J-Rod. Speaking of like another like young guy.
The roster's insane. It's just like a super.
Yeah.
It's like the all-star lineup.
team. I mean, the US roster is pretty fucking good too, dude.
Sure, yeah.
I think I'm going with either Wander or Devers. I think both. I think they're going to pop off, and I also think those are the two players I'm most excited to watch in this.
Yeah, I mean,
Bobby Witt Jr. on this list. Who put him on here?
I mean,
Who?
Bobby Witt Jr.
Oh, I mean, solid backup piece.
He's doing like all right now. Like I was a lot more worried about him like a year or two ago. Bobby Witt.
Yeah, I don't know which of the four Phillies I should pick.
I bet Mookie goes off. I just bet he does.
I bet Arenado will, to be honest.
Or Arenado's got a WBC under his belt already. He had a really good World Baseball Classic. A very good end to the World Baseball Classic. I remember.
I have nothing to back this up, really, but Mookie just feels like such a World Baseball Classic player.
I'm so on your level right now.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm feeling.
It's like he was made for it.
I just see him piecing balls out to right field. I don't know why.
Oh, and absolutely smoking, like hunting down everything in the outfield.
Yeah,
it just feels too right, and I feel like he would be a really good face of the team.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But for player I think is going to do the best,
Trout wouldn't be the worst shout.
this is going to be a kind of a curveball. I think Logan Webb's going to have an amazing tournament.
You think he's going to revert to his 2021 playoff self and just go
I-
off?
I'm kind of feeling it, man. I think he's gonna lead us down the stretch, and
I
it's
hope
just gonna be
so.
like
Yeah, I
they're
mean,
gonna be terrified to see that
He
man
looked
on the
like he
mound.
was going to be the next Cy Young the way he was pitching that one playoff stretch. That was
He can get back.
I mean,
to
and
it.
he still had a great year this year. Like he had a
he had
sneaky
a solid
2.9.
year this year. Yeah, he had
it
a
was
solid year.
solid.
For how they performed as a team. I think. I mean, they had Rodon, who was whatever, like 14-8. I mean,
He had a frustrating fantasy year because I
Yeah, no,
know because I picked him up, so I drafted him. But like it's tough that be 15-9 with a 2.9.
That's
Giants
exactly
just
what I
struggled
was-
to get a lot of offensive production done this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like as a fantasy owner, I was a little bit disappointed, but he still put solid numbers up.
Yeah,
And I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but like a one like a 116 whip is good. It's very good, but it feels a little high for a 2.9 ERA for some reason as well.
He's one of the only players that didn't regress big time from the 2021 Giants to the 2022 Giants.
like Crawford had a weird year that year. Crawford played like exceptionally well.
Yeah, he had a 900 OPS somehow and hit
Like
Mhm.
hit
like
300.
the whole second half of the year, he was like a stud, like out of nowhere at like 33 or whatever, however old he is.
His OPS dropped like 55, 60 points, or his OPS
Belt was
plus, I
awful.
should say,
Belt made me want to lose my
quite a big
mind
difference
in fantasy.
from 895 to 652. And then Posey retired. That hurt, and Joey Bart hasn't really been.
Yeah, he
Up
has
to-
not
up to
been good. Did
standard.
they even like set him down at one point? I think they sent Joey Bart down at one point, which is like
Yeah.
crazy to think about with Posey gone.
Or they might just throw Rodgers out of the bullpen every single inning they could. I would die trying to hit him.
Brandon Belt also had a really good year for them that year.
Yeah.
No, Belt had a horrible year last year too. Belt was
Yeah.
I
really
think he's going to turn around.
Belt was really hurt a lot last year though. I would know.
I think it'll be okay.
I mean, I think he'll hit if he's healthy, fully healthy. He's like whatever. He's a average defender, I'd say. I don't really know, honestly. I think he can make a play if he needs to make a play, but like I don't.
Yeah.
He's not like a super agile guy. I mean, he could hit 40 out in a year if he really did well. I think he's got the power to. I mean, how many did he hit out in 2021? Probably 30. He probably hit 30.
2021, he put out 29.
Yeah, yeah. I think.
I mean, that's not
maybe
consistent
40,
with the rest of his career.
maybe not
But
40, but I think 30 is definitely a good number for him to try and like achieve.
I don't know. Most of like his next highest year was 18. So I think if he breaks 20, that's a good year for him. But he is kind of more of a backup piece, I'm thinking, for them. But I think he's a great situational hitter.
Well, he's not very good against lefties, if I recall. I feel like.
Well, I can pull up the splits, but
We want
let
to
me go
talk
to
about
2021.
the prospects list.
Yeah, we can mention it briefly how Andrew Painter is the best right-handed pitching prospect in all of baseball, if you want to talk about that.
We
But
can also talk about how we have the number one prospect in all of baseball, as well as
And the number
Yeah.
one farm system in all of baseball.
yeah, all right.
And
also,
I think
we don't have a cancer in our organization known as Bryce Harper.
Whoa, you mean excellent team leader and hero of Philadelphia, Bryce Harper?
we also
Yeah,
have eight
He's
players.
bringing
in the
back a
top
championship to
100.
DC. He said he would do it, and he did it. Just saying.
I mean, if anything, you got our most toxic player, Kyle Gibson, very toxic in the
All right.
But
this
in all seriousness, no. Orioles looking great as we expected out of the top 100 prospects lists. I mean, number one farm system in baseball. Got Gunnar at 1. We've got Grayson at 7, and Jackson Holiday, our number 1 pick in the draft just last year, going at
Top
14,
15.
which is crazy. Or 12 now. Sorry, I can't read apparently. I think another list had him at 14. But Brad, I know you want to talk about Painter a little bit because he's about your only guy I see in the
Whoa,
third.
Griff McGarry's in there. All right, number 9 right-handed pitching prospect in all of baseball. But it's really exciting. You know, for a while, our farm system had nothing. And fortunately, we've been hitting on some first-round pitching prospects lately, and just to see how they've developed is really exciting. I think Painter's going to get some meaningful innings in the back half of this year, and I think, you know, he could take over the 5 role pretty immediately. I feel like, you know, I think he's still 19. Yeah, he's still 19, and he could be like, when the season like is going on, he'll be 20. But like as a 20-year-old, I think he could be one of like the biggest contributors in the entire playoffs. So, I mean, it's really exciting to see a guy develop so well. Excellent pitch mix, one of the best fastballs I've seen in minor league baseball, and I'm excited because I think he's major league ready. Yeah, and I'm excited to see what he does against the competition.
One guy who I'm particularly excited for, I know some of the other boys definitely are too. Obviously, we know we've got Gunnar. We've seen him play a lot. We know Grayson's going to be great. We know he just throws gas, but and Holiday's obviously a young guy who I don't think we'll see in the league for at least minimum 3 years, probably 2-3 years. I mean, 2 years if he's really progressing well. But so Colton Cowser is a guy that I am incredibly excited to hopefully see some point this year. Hopefully,
he definitely should be up this year. It'll be a travesty
around the
if he's
All-Star
not.
break. If he's hopefully that's around the time that we'll
Yeah.
call, I would imagine. But I
And
mean, he last year he was a 406 OBP, 469 slugging, 875 OPS, hit 20 bombs, 66 ribbies in a pretty, I mean, that's a pretty short season for minor league ball. I mean, he's a good defender. He's got speed in the outfield. I watched him play against the Memphis Redbirds when they were in town, and he looked good in the outfield. And the Orioles have lacked speed in the outfield corners, or just like a solid defensive option in the outfield corners. Not to say I don't mind throwing Tony Taters out there, but like I'd love to have a guy like him just sit at home plate and swing the bat if possible.
I got 2 things to follow that up. First, I want to apologize. I misspoke earlier. I meant to say Mick Abel is our number 9 pitching prospect, number 9 right-handed pitching prospect. Griff McGarry's just out of the top 100. But second of all, I'm with you, Wilhelm. I got a chance to watch your minor league team. I forget which one it was, but play against the Harrisburg Senators, and man, they looked filthy. Like I don't think I expected a minor league team to match that well ever. Like I think they put up like 22 runs in like 6 innings.
Yeah, you
It was
went
like
to
one
like
of
the craziest game.
Yeah, you went. Yeah, I remember that. You went
Yeah.
to a dog game.
I think
It
you
was
saw
like one of
Bowie.
you're right. It was the Bowie Bay Sox, and it was one of the worst beatdowns I've ever seen. And it was really exciting to watch. I got to see a lot of these guys, and they got some real talent, man. As much as I like to knock the O's, they got some real talent in the minor leagues.
yeah, no, I mean, I feel like Calzer kind of like goes under the radar a little bit when we have like so many other like prospects like continuously like top 5, top 10, like in all of baseball. We have like Grayson and Gunner and Adley and Jackson Holiday and players like that and DL Hall even that just get like more recognition. Calzer kind of just goes under the radar, but yeah, I'm really excited to have some speed in the outfield too.
The Orioles have, I think, maybe like when you compile all the different top 100 lists out there from big media sources, they have like 11 or 12 separate players that they crack the list, depending on who you ask. So it's pretty impressive to have that many guys that have a real case to make the list. Yeah, there's not much more to say. They have the best system, and it's not just from straight up losing, for years. That helps, but Gunner was like pick 40 or something, and Grayson was like mid first round, stuff like that. So they've hit on a lot of picks.
Which is not easy to do as someone who has missed on picks for years on years.
Yep.
Seeing that development's really cool.
I mean, are we still gonna be number one after Gunner graduates, or will it be like Arizona or a
I
team
think
like that?
It'll
Arizona,
probably be
depending on
Arizona.
when. Well, assuming,
I mean, they're gonna lose Corbin Carroll too around the
yeah,
same
that's
time.
Yeah.
Corbin
Mhm.
Carroll's going to be off that list. So,
So does that put
And they
us
don't have
back
much
up?
I
depth
mean,
in the
dude,
top
they
100 past
got
those two guys.
Lawler and they got Drew Jones. Drew Jones is going to sit there. Drew Jones, I don't see Drew Jones moving down past 20 at all.
No.
There's just too much hype around his name for him to move down, I think, unless if he just has like an awful time trying to play single A next year. But
I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening. I think he's going to be in the MLB, and or I think him and Holiday will
I
come up.
saw some of the guys at MLB Pipeline said if they could, both the top guys that run the website said if they could pick one player to be the number one prospect next year, it would be Jackson Holiday. So that'll be something if that happens.
If that happens, it's ridiculous.
They would have number one, basically.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit of a fall off for number one last year, but all the way down at 7.
Yeah.
Then we got Westberg in there. We can't forget him. We got Joey Ortiz. What was he, like 80 something?
Yeah, and then we got
And
Kobe
then
Bryant.
Mayo, and then rounding it out at 97, we got DL Hall.
Yeah, DL Hall's a little lower than he was before, but
Yeah, I mean,
I still have faith in him.
I still have faith in him. He
Still top 100.
He just he just
He's
went
got to
down.
work on that control.
If you look at his
He
peripherals this year, they were actually really good. Like I know his batted ball numbers once he got to the majors were really unlucky. Like he had a 400 BABIP, but his FIP. Well, let me see what it was. It's loading.
I have faith in him just because of that one Yankees game when he got fired up.
His FIP was 1.6, but his ERA was 5.9.
Which is crazy.
I think he probably had some very bad luck in his 13 inning sample. I'm not saying he's going to be, like a fucking, ace next year, but I think he'll be a good arm.
Yeah, I think it's gonna just be key for him to get consistent innings.
Yeah.
I think just moving his inning count up slowly throughout the year, starting him out as like a later setup guy, sixth, seventh, eighth inning guy, not like a closer role. Obviously.
Yeah, there's not room in the rotation for him right now.
That's not really, but and then the Orioles, something the Orioles might desperately need is long relief. I mean, as a general rule, we got I think, really lucky with how long our starters were able to go for last year. Granted, we did have a great bullpen, and we've had a lot of diamonds in the rough with guys like Dylan Tate and Perez and Felix. Obviously, I don't know if Felix is a diamond in the rough. He's more
he
like
was a little bit, but he's very talented, of course.
Yeah. But guys that we've just been able to kind of develop or whatnot. But I think it's just going to be crucial for him to get innings because he is really talented. He's got his slider. Like there was a video from spring training of his fastball slider overlay. It's disgusting. He's got such great talent, but like Brett said, his command has been really bad, and he just needs to figure that out because if you don't have command, you can't pitch in the MLB. It's just can't do it.
On
One last. After you.
Yeah, I was going to say on Fangraphs, they still have a lot of faith in a bit more faith than Pipeline does. They have him ranked 30th, so they still seem to think that he can be an elite player. They list him as like a like late inning relief pitcher right now, so maybe they think that his best role could be as a closer in the future, which would be nice.
I don't know if I actually see him as a starter, to be honest.
It might be hard because he's had some injury problems and stuff.
I think, one last guy I wanted to mention quickly to branch off from the O's. I know he's not Philly anymore, but I'm really excited to see what Logan O'Hoppe does this year. He's moving up those rankings, and I think the Angels need another good piece like that. And I think if he's solid, he adds so much value to their team. So I think in terms of prospects, I'm excited to watch play this year. I think he's one of the top ones.
I mean, he had not great, but he had a solid sample size for when he was playing with the Angels. I mean, had a 375 OBP, and I mean, he's not going to be a guy who hits a ton of home runs. But I mean,
I think he had some pop in the minors though. Like,
yeah,
dude's
some
got-
pop. He's not going to be like he'll be like the 25, 30 guy maybe at best. I'm not saying he's going to be. I don't think he'll be.
I mean,
Sure, I'll take that from a catcher any day. Sorry.
yeah, no, like I think it'll definitely help him out, and I think we can't really read too much into like the 5 games he was up, but for a guy who turns 23 on Thursday, depending on like when this comes out, I think it'll still help out the Angels a good bit this coming season in his age 23 season.
Maybe the last thing we can talk about is the Orioles traded for Cole Irvin since we had our last podcast, and he'll be a starter on the rotation. So maybe we should give that a little bit of weight.
I'll let y'all handle that.
Okay, I mean, he's decent. Like he's not great, and I like Hernandez, who they gave up to get him. But I think to get a starter that's under control for the next couple of years, you have him until 2027, and even if he can be like average for a couple of years, he doesn't strike out a lot of guys, which is kind of an issue. But his command is good, and it seems like he can be an all right pitcher. And maybe they can get him in the lab and get some career years out of him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with doing it. I mean, he's had about 180 innings each of the last 2 seasons. Like, if I can get 180 innings in ERA and like FIP and all that, like in the low fours, like around 4, I'll take it.
Yep.
I like his pitch.
The
There's a lot of pitches, but I mean, I don't know. It just seems kind of like it's another one of those
It's not a
might
needle
be
mover.
average kind of
It's the same tier as getting Adam Frazier and James McCann and
Yeah.
Gibson. It's all the same. tier.
Gibson and Givens. I think I named all of them basically, but
I think he's better
I
than
think
Gibson.
I think he is. He is probably.
And I
better than
think
Gibson.
Givens might be a step above that too. I think Givens could be nasty.
Yeah,
Givens,
I think so too. I'm
Givens
just talking about him
gross,
being a
actually.
reliever
Givens
versus a
has
starter.
a disgusting amount of fastball movement.
Well, I mean, pretty much we just need guys to like pitch relief, like 6th, 7th inning, like stuff like that. Like we're fine in like the back half of like the bullpen.
Oh, absolutely. Between Tate and Perez and
Bautista, yeah.
Bautista, I'm very like absurdly confident in the back half of our bullpen. The front half is where I'm worried. The guys who need to come in for 4 or 5 innings in case someone gets shelled. That's where I'm a little bit more.
I mean,
Brian Baker,
we still like Kriebel and like Baker and guys like that, like Keegan Atkins too, or Egan.
I mean, yeah. I mean, but that's way less reassuring than than the other 3 guys you named. Like, those guys can do well, and we've seen them do well. But I don't know. I don't see any one of those guys being like a sub at 4 and maybe sub 4-5. I don't know.
if Brian Baker pitches like he was over the last couple of months, that'll be good. And Austin Voth could maybe be one of the long relievers that you got, along with like Wells. Because I don't know if he'll be back in the rotation. You kind of got a lot of names in there right now.
Yeah, we do. We have a decent amount of arms, to be honest.
None are that great at the moment, but
I think we also need to sit back and we need to realize it means it's going to hopefully come back. And I mean, whatever. He threw his no. He wasn't playing that great otherwise that year. And then obviously he got Tommy John last year, and it hurt, but we had guys step up for sure.
Yeah.
But I think we got to hope that he's going to come back and he's going to just be get us 10 wins, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends on when he comes back. If he comes back, he should be back
probably a couple months into the season. I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not trying to rush things, I'd say that he'll be back. If they're really taking it slow, like All-Star break, but like if I had to guess, I'd say like early June he'll be back. Once warm up also.
I mean, we have no reason to really not just take it slow. Like I feel like from our free agency, we pretty much agreed that we're fine if we don't make the playoffs this season. If we're just like around 500 where we were like last year. I think like so there's no real reason to rush it. If he can be like really good next season, if we pick up a couple guys, then we'd be a playoff team.
And that's partially that's what I also think the Orioles might be doing with this whole free agency thing is just feel like obviously this is just me partially just wanting them to have the idea in my mind that they could possibly spend, but I think they also kind of want to see how we start next year and where we're at by the time the trade deadline kind of starts to peak around, because I think that's really, and it could be really the difference between us just wasting a year of spending however much money on 2 or 3 big names or whatever it would be. I mean, obviously I'm upset we didn't go out and try and get any of the numerous amounts of guys who have already signed, but
because you think last year would have proven that, like
no,
they're going in the right direction.
That too, but I just still think there's because we were lucky last year. Like we were good.
Hey, at least you admit.
No, like we were. No, don't get me wrong. I think we deserve to be an around 500 team. I think we deserve to be maybe plus or minus 5 games either way. I could have seen it going that.
Yeah.
Did I see us win it? What did we win? 91 games? I would have guessed.
We won like 83, I think.
No, what am I saying? 91. What am I making that up from?
Yeah, no, we were 83 and 79 last year.
Okay, I know what I'm thinking of. I would have expected us to win like 75 last year, I think.
Yeah. Honestly, I was thinking even like 70.
Maybe 70. I think that would have been because like our win streak, obviously, some of that was like some of like the late game stuff. Like Orioles Magic was a thing last year, like for the first time in a while. I felt like for sure, like just some of the moments, like finally felt like they went our way, like consistently, which was a good thing.
I think that's.
Well, go ahead, Brad.
I was just gonna say. I was wondering if y'all thought that was a good point to wrap it up at, but
yeah,
with some Orioles love there, but. If you wanted something to say to wrap it up, go for it.
I mean, I was just gonna say like our expected wins was 79, so like kind of around the same range. But especially when Means got hurt and when Grayson got hurt, like I imagine a lot of people probably thought we were gonna win fucking like 60 something games. Like, I mean, the season before we won 52. And there wasn't much improvement on paper besides, young players getting better and Adley coming up. But it seems like the fate of the franchise has changed quickly, knock on wood.
Sweet. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Birds Right podcast. I think we did had some nice conversation today, and we're looking forward to the next baseball podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Then you guys will be seeing football podcast, Super Bowl preview, hopefully soon.
And basketball trade deadline. We're also thinking about doing that this week as well.
So stay tuned for some more episodes and appreciate you as always.
Peace.